Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, Instagram fam, friends and followers of as-Saafiy, and welcome to another episode of Revert Reflections. And today we'll continue our discussion on relationship maintenance with our children and continue providing techniques to improve and nurture that relationship. And among the techniques I'd like to mention this morning is that we need to teach our kids. And if you guys remember when we started this particular subject or subtopic, talking about the parent-child relationship and raising kids, etc., one of the verses we quoted to support the concept was the ayah from Surah At-Tahrim, the 66th chapter, verse number 6, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara wa quduha an-nasu wal hijara. O you who believe, protect yourselves and your family from a fire, the fuel of which is men and stones. And we mentioned the tafsir, the commentary on that ayah from Ali ibn Abi Talib, in which he said, Alimuhum wa addibuhum. He said, teach them and discipline them. So one of the big jobs of parents in their relationship, their active attempt to foster a healthy relationship with their kids, is teaching their kids. This is our role. And of course, we need to teach them their religion. One of the main things we need to be teaching them is their religion, and that's a given. And this requires, what we need to realize and take a step back as parents, is we need to realize that this is going to require us to learn and know our religion ourselves. Because as the proverb goes, فَأَقَدُ الشَّيْء لَا يُعْطِي. The one who has nothing cannot give something to others. And so in order for us to teach our kids their religion, we're going to have to know it ourselves. And this is a big problem for many Muslim parents, is that we are exceedingly ignorant of our religion, and as a consequence we convey that ignorance to our kids. Our kids become equally ignorant or even more ignorant of their religion because we ourselves are ignorant, or we struggle to teach them and teach them correctly, teach them accurately, because we ourselves are trying to grab knowledge from here and there because we have not ourselves amassed a certain degree of knowledge about our religion. And so it's critical for us to look inward as we prepare to raise our kids, and understand that if we're not knowledgeable ourselves and we're not exemplifying, embodying the knowledge, then we're going to struggle at checking this box, which is critically important for nurturing our relationship with our kids. Now, beyond teaching them, the nuts and bolts of religion, the do's and don'ts of religion, the practical, tangible knowledge of religion, we need to be teaching our kids, more importantly than that actually, to love their religion and help them see that their religion is their friend, not their enemy. That their religion is here to guide them, not to suffocate or control them. And many of our kids don't see the difference, and we need to help them see it. We need to be aiding in that process and not undermine that process, because some parents, all they know is haram, haram, haram. Everything is haram. And they're telling their kids they can't do this and they can't do that and you can't do that. And they can't. And in reality, a lot of what they're telling them they can't do are things that the parents just don't want them to do. And they're using Islam as a boogeyman of sorts to scare the kids into thinking that they can't do certain things, or they're going to get in trouble with Allah if they do certain things. And when we start to do that, we start to alienate our kids from religion. And so we need to be aware and cognizant of all these things and avoid these things in our efforts to teach our kids. Beyond religion, when we talk about this concept of teaching our kids and how that plays into nurturing our relationship with our kids and fostering a healthy relationship with them, beyond religion, we need to teach our kids other important life skills that will improve our relationship with them and their relationship with others, their ability to be in functioning healthy relationships with others, like being responsible. We have to teach our kids responsibility and accountability. And it's a big problem for many parents. Many parents want to spoil their kids and let their kids do whatever they want to do. They give their kids a responsibility or a task and they don't fulfill it. They just do it themselves and don't hold the kids responsible. We need to, if we do that, we're not preparing the kids for real life and for the real world. We have to teach our kids responsibility. We have to hold them accountable. We have to make them do things. And we have to come behind them and say, this is not the way you do this. Or you did this, but you didn't do it up to, you didn't meet the standard. You didn't meet expectations, etc. We have to give our kids certain expectations and hold them accountable the way people do in the real world. And we also need to teach them, another thing we need to teach them, which is important, it's related to some of the lessons that we talked about previously. We need to teach our kids not to be so sensitive. We talked about how times have changed, the environment has changed, and kids have changed. People have changed. People, their spirits are very brittle nowadays, and they're very, very sensitive, and kids are no exception to that. In fact, they are some of the people who are most impacted by these changes. And they can be very, very sensitive, and that sensitivity can affect their ability to be in relationships with us and relationships with others. And so we need to help our kids learn to be open to and accept constructive criticism, and to be able to have tough conversations without getting emotional and falling silent on the one hand or becoming violent on the other. In short, we need to teach them, brothers and sisters, how to be functioning members of society, productive citizens in society. And part of that is teaching them how to be able to talk about things, talk through things without losing their tempers, becoming upset, or just withdrawing totally, falling silent, and being passive aggressive, etc. These are important life skills. They're not the only life skills, but they're important life skills we need to teach our kids. And we're seeing nowadays that more and more of our kids are hard to reach. We feel they're unreachable. And we're tiptoeing around them like eggshells because we don't want to lose our kids. We've got to learn how to help them be able to talk, be able to open up, be able to communicate effectively, whatever they're feeling, and help them see things from other perspectives. Because just because they see something a certain way and they feel a certain way about it doesn't mean that they're right about how they see it and how they feel and how they are responding to it, etc. I don't want to belabor that point because I have a couple other points I want to mention. Another very important technique that we need to be applying in our relationship maintenance with our kids is to help them choose good companions. We have the very famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Al-maru ala dini khalili, falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil." He said, a person will follow the faith of his closest companions. So choose your friends wisely. Basically, the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us something that in reality, if we're looking at experiential evidence, if we're just looking at the reality of life and our own experience and the experience of others in life, he's telling us something that we already know. That friends have a major influence. They are major influencers in the lives of people, and people have a tendency to imitate and mimic and copy the behavior of the people that they associate with. That people are products of their environment and products of the people that they associate with. And so we need to help our children, our young men and young women, choose good companions. That doesn't mean that we choose their friends for them. That is not going to work. In fact, if you tell them they can't hang out with so-and-so, they're more likely to what? To gravitate towards so-and-so and such and such. So that's not going to work. But rather, we have to help them recognize what a true friend looks like. The qualities they should be looking for in the people with whom they associate and they keep company. We have to help them, brothers and sisters, see that there are people who their company is beneficial like medicine, and others who their company is more harmful than poison. There are going to be incidents in the lives of our children, in our own lives, the lives of their siblings, where they associate with people and they get burned for it. That the fact that they're associating with certain people gets them in very precarious situations. When those things happen, we need to say, look, see what happened? Why do you think that happened? Why do you think so-and-so was put in that bad situation? And elicit from them that the company they kept, they were in that situation because they were with so-and-so. They were in that situation because they were with such and such. Okay, so what does that teach us? We have to help them see it. We can't tell them that. We have to help them see it on their own. And then they'll develop, they'll develop this desire. They'll develop the skill to recognize, who's who they should gravitate towards, who they should stay away from, etc. It becomes their own decision to gravitate toward the good people and to gravitate away from the bad people. Brothers and sisters, if we can get our kids to choose their friends more wisely, this will make our job of raising them that much more easier. Because why? They're around people who are encouraging them to do the good things, and they're staying away from the people who are encouraging them to do the bad things. That makes our job that much easier. And so we have added incentive to try to help our kids choose their friends more wisely. Again, we're not going to choose their friends for them. That's not going to work, right? That's going to backfire. But rather, we're going to try to help them in a roundabout way, in a very subliminal way, help them choose their friends more wisely. The last but not least from the techniques I want to mention today is be a promise keeper. Be a promise keeper, not a promise maker, a promise keeper. We have a number of ayat in the Quran and a number of hadith where the keeping of promises is emphasized. So, for example, we have right at the outset of Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 5th chapter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, awfu bil-uqud. O you who believe, keep your promises. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ, when he talked about ayat al-munafiq, when he talked about the signs of a hypocrite, he mentioned either wa'da akhlaf. If he makes a promise, he breaks his promise. And so our religion encourages us generally to keep our promises, and it encourages us even more so as parents to keep our promises to our kids. And to be honest with you, ikhwana wa akhawat, brothers and sisters, I understand better than anybody that this one isn't always easy. Many things change in our lives nowadays, in the modern age, in our circumstances. Many things change in an instant. And our lives are so fluid nowadays that our schedules appear to be open at one moment. At one moment, they appear to be open. And we expect to be free to do something with our kids or do something for our kids. And then suddenly, we are no longer available or able to do what we promised in an instant. And our kids they don't understand all that. They just know you told them you were going to take them to such and such place. You were going to do such and such thing with them, right? And then all of a sudden you're too tired. All of a sudden you have work. All of a sudden there's something that you have to do. There's something that broke that has to be fixed. There's something that that isn't in the house that you need to go get for the house, etc. These things change in an instant, and your kids don't understand all that. They just know, hey, you said you were going to do this, and now you're not doing it. And so we need to try our level best, and we're all human, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands our humanness, and hopefully He will help us in those instances where it's something beyond our control and we just can't keep our promise. He'll help not make that an issue between us and our kids. But what we can't do is we can't assume, and we talked about this as well, we cannot assume that our relationship with our kids is so durable that it can withstand a number of broken promises. The reality, brothers and sisters, is that kids really take this to heart. And in many cases, it stays with them and sows negative feelings in their hearts towards us. You have people, families, who are in therapy sessions today, and they are estranged. They have strained relationships. They have major issues. And as they're talking about these issues with therapists, they trace the roots of the conflict between father and son, between mother and daughter, between parents and children, back to a promise or a series of promises that were broken by the parents. That in many cases we don't understand the lasting effects of some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that we're failing to do as parents. And one of those is not keeping our promises. And I'm advising myself and admonishing myself as it relates to this before admonishing you. Brothers and sisters, we need to keep our promises with our kids. We need to understand that we're dealing with a relationship which is not as durable as we may imagine. And one of the things that can really impact that relationship is the breaking of promises. We'll have more on this, brothers and sisters, as we close out the topic and close out the week tomorrow, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Until then, as always, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless your houses, to bless your spouses, to bless your children, to bless your source of livelihood and income, to bless what remains of your day, to bless you and make you blessed wherever you may be. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.